Welcome back to the show. This is still GH today here on GHOne TV. It's now time for the breakfast review. And yesterday was an all-female ensemble. Today I have an all-male ensemble. So I'm the only woman standing here. It's time to discuss issues of national interest, particularly the NDC's campaign team. What will it do for the GHOne and GHOne tickets? We'll also talk about we'll also do a bit of postmortem of the hands off our hotels demonstration, as Brian Champong is denying some of the things that the Member of Parliament for Norton, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, has put out there. He's challenging him to come out and indeed provide facts to his not filing his returns with the GRA. We'll talk about that as well. And then the Ashanti region has topped the GSS Poorest League table and followed by the Northern region, for a region that is touted as the World Bank of the governing NPP. What does this mean? We'll talk about it. We'll talk about some unapproved fees also being charged by the National Service Secretariat. My guest this morning, Bernard Mona, is flag bearer aspirant for the PNC. Fad Usman is member NPP Communications team, and Wanda Victor Kuto is a member of the NDC, the NEC legal team as well. Good morning, gentlemen. Good to have you.
Good morning.
I've never met you, so you're welcome.
Thank you.
I hope you're doing well.
I'm doing very well. Doing very well.
Wanda, how's campaign going?
Oh, small.
You
know, the campaign is yet. Yes, the campaign is yet to start.
Chief, I didn't see you last week. I hope all is well.
Yes, all is well. Last week was a big day for the people of Sankana as we celebrated the 2024 Kalibi Festival. The Kalibi Festival is a festival that marks the defeat of Samori, the son of Sundiata Keita, who was one of the slave raiders. And in that celebration, I'm sure you are aware that the Greater Accra Regional Minister, the Honorable Nikwate Titus Glover, is already made a chief in 2019. And in 2022, Professor PLO Lumumba was also enskinned as Tangwana, means the warrior king of Africa. At this particular ceremony, Professor Nana Jane Opoku Ajimai was enskinned, probably the first queen of the area. And she was given the title Pirima Maloma. Piri means rocks. So, and when they say Pirima, it means the mother of rocks. So, by her brave conduct, that when she wanted to do her PhD thesis, she chose Sankana and the story of how the people defeated Samori and his forces. And so, having done that, she went further to publish that story. And that gave Sankana probably the recognition that UNESCO and other institutions started to visit tourists from across the globe, started to visit to want to find the story. Because most often when the story of slavery is being told, you do know that it's told in a certain manner that the slave raiders succeeded in all areas. But in Sankana, there was no success. In fact, they were beaten to the pulp, that they had to flee back. And so
that's good history.
So the Professor Nana was enskinned. The majority of people came there. And of course, these things are done in recognition of the contributions that people have made. And the whole of Sankana was agog over the weekend. So I had to be in Sankana as one of the errand boys of the chief of Sankana to welcome some of these dignitaries who came to Sankana from the airport to ensure that they had places to stay and their team had accommodation and maybe something to eat, and also to brief them on what was expected of them. And in the case of Professor Nana, I mean, to be enskinned, you know, you have to go through certain rituals. I was shocked at her courage to want to stand. But of course, I shouldn't be shocked, because if you know the terrain of Sankana, the topography of Sankana, that during her research, she actually went under the rocks, went to the caves that were initially occupied by the porcupines, And these caves, when you go under, you can actually go more than 2 kilometers crawling. And she did all that in her research. So taking her through the various rituals to unskin her was
a walk in the park for her.
For her. And
Okay,
she took
okay.
it very easily. So I'm sure that your producers will be showing excerpts of it in the course of the program.
Exactly. But as you mentioned, Professor Nana, the NDC has named its campaign team. It's increased the numbers a bit from what we saw in 2020. They had about 24 people. Now there are about 33 people in there. And so we ask, what is this? And there are notable names in there. Professor Alabi is in there. Totobi Kwachi is in there. Asadian Ketia is in there. What does this mean for the John and Jane ticket coming again?
Well, good morning to Father and then also to Wanda and to yourself, as you claim that you are the only lady amongst us.
Yes. I mean, if you look in the studio, I'm actually the only lady.
It's not every person with beard that is a man.
Chief, really? Let's continue the conversation.
Now, first and foremost, the NDC as a political party has their own strategy. And one would be naive to want to question them on what their strategy is leading to election 2024. But we are also interested, Ghanaians, to want to find out whether that strategy is for good or for bad. Because if we don't take interest in the workings of other political parties, in who are fit to occupy some positions, and we end up with this list as the persons to become our next ministers and next appointees, we may probably be heading for a disaster. And so what does it mean to have Professor Alabi lead the campaign? And I think that this is about the second consecutive time that he's doing this. The first time was after he had contested and probably came second to John Mahama
in the flag bearership race.
In the flag bearership race. Then John Mahama appointed him and said, in my view, whatever magic you did to beat a colossus like the Speaker of Parliament of today, who is well grounded in the party, well known, has been majority leader before, has been minority leader before, has been Minister for Health, Minister for Works and Housing, and his influence within the members of Parliament cannot be underestimated. But an Alabi could come from nowhere, and before we realized, the shock was pulled. So I would think that that was the raison d'etre for John Mahama to have appointed him to say, use that skill to come and coordinate my campaign for me. Then we noticed that leading to the recent presidential run within the NDC, he was again selected to coordinate the John Mahama campaign, and he did a solid job. Again, yesterday, news came out that John Mahama still has confidence in him to lead and to prosecute his campaign. It does appear that there is a certain level of consistency with John Mahama when it comes to the persons that he has worked with. I am very much aware that if you take the track records of the NDC, Jerry John Rawlings appointed or nominated or worked with Aka, Koin Kenson Aka, as vice president, just for a term, and then removed the vice president and brought in Atta Mills.
Professor Mills.
Professor Atta Mills, when he became the flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress, first chose Martin Amidu as his running mate. And when they lost the elections, the following elections, he chose Mohammed Mumuni. And when they lost that elections, the third elections that he contested, he came with John Mahama and won. So you can see that there had been some inconsistency with the kind of persons that are chosen. When Atta Mills passed on, and John Mahama took Mr. Atta as his vice president, he maintained him in the 2016 elections. And in the 2016 elections, in 2012, he maintained him for the elections, and 2016, he maintained him for elections. Again, if you fast forward, probably because Mr. Atta passed on, that is how come that John Mahama may not have or might not have put him as the running mate. And then he chose Jane Nana Opoku in 2020. Then we can see that he has repeated Jane Nana. It means that he takes time to choose the kind of persons that he wants to work with. And it's very difficult for him to jettison or to part with their services.
Yeah.
That level of consistency I have observed if you compare with the track record of the NDC. And so it did not come to me as a surprise that the Professor Alabi was asked to coordinate. Now, to coordinate necessarily does not mean that you should be the front line person. It means that you should check the activities of all the other campaign members and to ensure and to report what the shortfalls are, and then we could take it from there. There is another coordinator in the person of Alex Segbefia, who is the campaign coordinator for Professor Nana Jane
For the running
Opoku.
mate team.
Now, the running mate team was not completely spelled out. Alex Segbefia was named. And so probably they are now going to put flesh, or that running mate team is going to be the sole workings of the running mate herself, choosing people that she thinks, or is going to be in conjunction with the party as to the kind of persons that will support her work. They have come across newspapers headlines that are suggesting that Muntaka, Haruna Idrisu have been put out of the campaign.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is supposed to mean. But I would think that once you are a member, a parliamentary candidate, PC, that the party should leave you out of any national assignment so that you can concentrate and deliver the votes in your constituency,
so you can consolidate the gains.
and add more. Right. Now, if you were added to the national campaign, you will have a divided attention.
That's right.
Yeah, moving from one end to the other, and that could impact negatively on your performance. Of course, you could win. There's no doubt that Haruna Idrisu is likely to win, except when the PNC file a formidable candidate. And so if the PNC has not filed a formidable candidate, he will win. It is always the margin of victory that will determine. Because I remember, for instance, one of the claims that we made is that whilst people suspected that Haruna Idrisu was at loggerheads with the presidential candidate of the National Democratic Congress, John Mahama, when they were doing the presidential primaries, it was Haruna Idrisu's constituency that delivered 100% for John Mahama. Don't forget that that was immediately following his removal as minority leader. So people suspected that, look, it was going to harm John Mahama's chances in Haruna Idrisu's constituency. But he went to his people and said, look, to do me good, ensure that all of you vote for John Mahama. That is the candidate I back. And so to get 100% without any spoiled ballot paper, or what do we call it? Rejected vote, was to indicate that, look, his constituency is solid and they need to get more. New voters are coming onto the voters register. Yeah. There are people who are undecided. And so the more he has time to concentrate, he will do that. But knowing the Haruna Idrisu that I know, working with him from my students' days, and also working with him as National Youth Organizer, I do know that over the years, he will sometimes leave his constituency and go around other constituencies to support some of the candidates so that they can win. I'm certain that he will still do that, particularly for constituencies within the northern region, that he is seen as the leader, de facto leader, so that the party can do well.
You mentioned that the running mates campaign has not been spelled. It's actually been spelled out. So Alex Segbefia is heading it. James Ejeni Mboatin, spokesperson.
Oh, yeah.
Eric Ajay is deputy spokesperson. Yes.
They are just three.
Yeah.
There are three of them. And if you look at the structure of the John Mahama campaign and the Jane Mahama Nana campaign, you see that only three persons have been named here. And I'm sure that they will flesh it up. Now, in the case of Mutaka, I think that there is a lot of work to be done in his constituency.
Yes, if you look at what happened even in his primaries.
There is a lot of work to be done in his constituency. And so you would have been naive.
It would be suicidal.
In fact, or murderous to want to say that come and join a national campaign team when there is a lot of work to be done in his constituency, one, he needs to, I don't know how far he has been able to bridge the difference between him and the opponents and his constituency chairman. And two, that the MPP is doing everything possible to torpedo him in that constituency. So I think that to give him that chance to concentrate on his constituency probably is the wisest thing to do. I love that gentleman. I love him because probably for the personal recognition that he gave me. And this I say openly, that when I returned from Germany in 2009, after my master's, he called me. In fact, I called him because somebody met him and thought that he was the one because of the way I dressed, and rushed to me. And then I just picked my phone and called him. He was then Minister for Youth and Sports. When I called him, he said, "Oh, where have I been?" I said, "I just returned from Germany. I was walking to Parliament to go and greet the Honorable MP for Jirapa." And he said, well, he was just about having his lunch. And you know what the lunch was? Kenke at his office. And that he wanted to have a discussion with me if I could come so we eat lunch together, except if I've eaten. So I went to the office. The secretary will not even allow you to enter because then I said, "Oh, the minister is waiting for me to eat the kenke." It was at that point that I was allowed to enter the office because how I could know that the minister was going to eat kenke. Then we started. Then he said there was a job for a 3-month period. That is the organization of the hockey tournament. And he was looking around, and once I called him, my name just pricked that I should come and help as the deputy CEO. And I said, "No problem. If you said I should come and help in the LOC, I will." And then that was it. He just put my name on the team, and we worked at the local organizing committee to organize the African Hockey Cup of Nations. We put up the new edifice at the hockey pitch at the Tema Stadium, Tema Station, and all the facilities. It was done by Micheleti and whatever. So I keep telling people that, hey, the fact that Mutaka may have some things, me, as a person, I respect and I adore him because without any work, he just called me and said, "This job, I know you can do it, go and do it." And I did it. And I'm sure that he has no regret putting me, Resdankwa, Okojani, Abuga Pele, and a host of people who did a solid job and put up the hockey edifice that has hostel facility, has a press, and many other places for people. So I think that Mutaka should concentrate on his constituency in the hope that he may be able to win because I think that the grounds needs a lot more work than to put him. So I don't know where the story of they have been sidelined is coming from. And I have not seen actually any MP apart from the minority leader who is strategically positioned probably to be able to check what support the campaign can offer to the various parliamentary candidates of the NDC. Apart from the minority leader, no other MP, sitting MP, has been put on the campaign.
Yes,
and so that should give an indication of the seriousness of the campaign, that everybody must go and win your seat, add more votes so that the presidential campaign will become more relevant.
Wonder.
Thank you very much. Morning to my senior brother, Muna, and then Fat, and yourself, and the good people of Ghana. I must say that when you talk about campaign team are always for a specific purpose. And the nature of the list, if you look at the names on the list, you could see that most of them are conventional. For example, if you take the coordinator of the campaign, the general secretary of the party is always the coordinator.
Campaign coordinator.
Yes. So if today...
It's default, by default.
Exactly. So if today you happen to be our general secretary, you are automatically the campaign coordinator. I'm saying this and trying to drive home a particular point. Because when the list came out, then journalists started calling, "Why have you sidelined this?" I said, do you really know how campaigns team are formed? There are only few names that were added that are new, that are not by default. For example, the Honorable Richard Kwashiga. Now, my understanding was that the party needed a former MP to coordinate the campaigns of all MPs. So even coordinating the affairs of all MPs is not to be done by a current MP.
Yeah.
The party has to fall on a former MP. That is how the Honorable Richard Kwashiga was
put there.
Exactly. So even coordinating the campaigns of all MPs, the party decided to go for a former MP, somebody who has been there before, who have enough time and all of that. Now, I always look at the positive sides when issues like this pop up. That it only tells you that the NDC, we have the men. If after coming out with our list, a lot of people are saying that, oh, you should add this person, you should add that person, it only tells you that
they are enough.
Yes, once we win the election, God willing, December 7th, by January, the government takes shape. Additionally, campaigns are always in two sides. We have the overt and covert operations. It is not everything that is made public.
Why?
It is not every strategy that is made public.
No, nobody goes to war with their strategy out there.
Exactly. You do not expect the NDC to come out with all these strategies. Now, if you look at specifically, because the newspapers, I've realized the new crusading guy, the statesman, they've decided to create a particular impression out there that the NDC has dropped the Honorable
and Muntaka.
And these are MPP newspapers, so pro MPP newspapers. I mean, we all know, we are all in this country. I mean, let us not pretend. So they are so interested in our campaign team, they are struggling to name a running mate. The MPP, they are struggling to name a running mate.
Well, maybe Fad will tell us when he gets to speak, they will announce their running mates, because we have gotten, when there are speculations in the media that the running mates will be named, whether it's a he or she will be named, and there's an NIB survey on who is best fit to be a candidate.
Look, we're in this country. I normally don't like to say this, but I'll be forced to say it. We're in this country when the late Deputy Finance Minister GHOne passed away, and the public perception was that he was eliminated because of running mate of the MPP. No, that's what was out there, and to the extent that national officers of the MPP visited the home of the late MP and refused to even accept water, which is against the Ghanaian culture. We know how friendly, hospitable with the Ghanaian people we are. But for the first time, MPP senior officers went to the home of the late GHOne, and they refused not to even drink the water, to accept it. They refused it. And that, I don't believe in speculations and all of that, but it gives some credence to what was going on. So people are struggling with your running mate issue, there are issues about people eliminating this and all of that. Then we come out with our campaign structure, our campaign team. Then you people are now saying we've dropped this, we've dropped that. No, it only suggests that the MPP knows that we, the NDC, we have the team and we are ready. Like I indicated earlier, all the names over there, they are conventional. The general secretary of the party today, if that is to be the general secretary of the NDC, he will be the campaign coordinator. You must always have a representative of the youth wing. So by default, the national youth organizer is a member of the campaign team.
Yeah.
You always need the communication team head to be part of the campaign team. So by default, the national communication officer is there. You always need the women's wing leader to be part of the campaign team. So by default, the national
organizer.
Exactly. Look, I'm happy that my senior brother Bernard Mona has made some observation about consistency. Do you know, as we speak now, Professor Joshua Alabi is a vice chair of the party. A lot of people don't know. He's an appointed vice chairman of the party. So if you pick a vice chair to head the flag bearers campaign, there's nothing wrong. You know, one of the concerns that we faced in government was the concern that party people were not in the presidency. Remember that issue of bringing Prosper Bani, but there were those complaints generally before the reshuffle came in, and then the Honorable Julius Zebra had to become chief of staff. As to whether those complaints were legitimate or not is a matter of different discussion. So if you have the flag bearer appointing a vice chairman of the party to head his campaign, it tells you that lessons have been learned. You see, that's what I'm saying, that it's not everything that you ought to sit here and say. Because some of the operations that we are doing are covert. Some of them are covert. Look, the vote Honorable Haruna Iddrisu gives us a loan cancels out about some 3 constituencies. Honorable Haruna on his own accord even support other constituencies. These are facts. So if you are a strategic political party, you don't just bring that person and put on a national campaign team. When you know that his constituency alone can cancel out 3 constituencies, the vote after winning, we all know that is given. But the vote, in terms of the numbers that the Honorable Haruna Iddrisu can give you, his votes alone can cancel out about 3 constituencies. So if you're a strategic political party, will you want to put such person on the national campaign that probably will let him not have that impact that we need up there? That's something that some of the operations are covert. But if the MPP want to create artificial division within our party, it's up to them. Names have come up. They said the persons have been dropped. Which list did you see before saying somebody has been dropped? These are new appointments. And let me use this opportunity to express my condolence to the family of the late Mawena Dumo. Particularly so because she was part of the 2020 campaign the last campaign team, she was in charge of communication for the running mates. So when I saw the list, I had that, I felt really so bad. I remembered her, the role she played and all of that. So with all due respect to the family of the Mawena Dumo,
I understand that this weekend.
Yes, the burial is this weekend. Of course, the family had called for privacy in these difficult times and all of that. But knowing the caliber of the late Mawena is former chief executive of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center and all of that. So it's quite sad. It's very sad actually. But I mean, God give us and God take it. Now, one would have wished that in spite of the difficulties, we would have wished that the government or the MPP machinery will be focused in resolving the difficulties that we are facing. Look, the last time I was here, we were discussing about tariff increments in water and electricity. And I explained how the purchasing power of the Ghanaian people has dropped. I also talked about how the contribution margin, when tariffs goes out, it affects the contribution margin of companies or firms. Because you have to get contribution margin, you deduct variable costs from revenue. So once you increase tariffs, your variable cost increases, and that brings down the contribution margin. And contribution margin helps companies to make decisions as to salary increment and other stuffs. So instead of the people addressing these economic difficulties, we are focusing that we have dropped Muntaka, we have dropped Honorable Haruna. I mean, what is this? What is this? We have just listed a solid team to lead us to victory. You are yet to name your running mates. You are yet to name your running mates. And there's a report. I know GHOne, we are good in investigation. People sent us some documents, confidential. I read this thing. I just hope that it's not true. But coming from GHOne, I mean, I nearly wept in the car. I said, look, the person that they have tipped to be their running mate is so acrimonious. That was in the document that you sent. That he's bringing division in the Asante region. And you know, as you prior to the show, you brought out this report from the Ghana Statistical Service that Asante region now is the poorest region. Is that not it?
Followed by the northern region.
Yes. If you look at the population in the Asante region, the kind of key positions that they have in the current government, the energy ministry, key positions, and they tipping one of them to be running mate, and the report comes that such a person is very acrimonious, divisive, and all of that, then you should know that we have a long way to go. So in respect of our campaign team, I mean, it's a solid team. Like I said earlier, most of the appointments are by default, they are conventional. So if the general secretary coordinates the campaign, there's nothing wrong about that. The NDC has always been consistent and we follow structure. So if you have the national youth organizer on the campaign team, that is appropriate. If you have the communication officer on the campaign team, that is appropriate. If you have the head of the women's wing, that's our national organizer on the campaign team, that is appropriate. Nobody should interpret this to mean that certain persons have been dropped. I've just said that even the party in taking decision to appoint somebody to coordinate the MPs, the party had to rely on the former MP. The only MP on this campaign is the minority leader, which is also by default.
Yeah.
If you are because you need a parliamentary caucus. Even at FEC, the minority leader is part of FEC. That's the functional executive committee of the party. So if you are coming out with a campaign team, obviously you need a minority leader to be there. And I'm not saying that he doesn't have the capabilities, but what I'm saying is that is the structure of the party. So if the MPP pro newspapers, like the New Crusading Guide and other guides, those papers don't know our procedure, they can find out our internal workings before they come out with all those speculations. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Wanda. Good morning once again.
Good morning. All right, thank you very much. Let me use the opportunity to say good morning to my uncle and my brother here. And to our viewers, a very special good morning. And also from the office of the leader of our party, His Excellency, Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Baumia, we bring a good morning to our viewers this morning. You know, he started his campaign not long ago. Very well in this country. I believe some 2 years ago, if Ghanaians will be with me. More than 2 years or 3 years after the defeats in 2020, His Excellency, the former president, started his campaign. So he has already been on the ground since 2021. He started with a thank you tour, went around, and he's still on it. That's all part of political campaign activities. He started from there. And he is here today with his campaign team. Well, we wish them well. That's all I can say. We started our campaign just a month ago. That was, I think, with the regional tour. Dr. Baumia started meeting regional House of Chiefs, started meeting with youth groups, market women, and religious leaders, and some selected groups across the country. And so far, if you look at the outcome of the tour or the engagement, it has been very successful. And we all know that elections are all about momentum. How you gather it, how you whip it along is very, very important. So as he has started, and I know he is going to continue again with the constituency tours, where I know very well that the good people of this nation will come out and listen to him. And based on his message, the good people of this country will vote for him. So he takes over in 2025, 7th January. We are very certain. And as we know, we've outlined some of the policies Dr. Baumia has presented to the Ghanaian people, that when given the opportunity, this is what his visions entails. And I think it is important we emphasize on some of these visions. Why? Because we are going for an elections, and this elections is about Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Baumia and a former president who had opportunity to be vice president before. So if you're going to assess these two individuals, it is only fair we assess them at the equal level where former presidents had an opportunity of being vice president. And wherever I get the opportunity, I throw the challenge to my brothers I meet that they should tell us one significant impact that the good people of this country can easily remember former President John Dramani Mahama with as a vice president. Just a single significant impact. There is none to show. the record so far tells you that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is one of the most, how do I put it, industrious vice president this country has ever witnessed within our fourth republic. The records are there. We've seen the campaigns and the agendas he has advanced within this government, and how he has been at the front line ensuring that this country is being prepared for the coming of a new revolution. That's the Industrial 4.0. We ask Ghanaians and we ask our brothers from the NDC, they should tell us. Well, from where I sit, I can easily remember 2 or 3 incidents with the former president as a vice president. Please don't get as a vice president. I can only remember 2 or 3 issues. And if you want me to mention some of them, you remember the late president Ivan Sifia Tamos some time ago told us that the XTS Korea Due Housing Project was under the office of the vice president, John Dramani Mahama. I hope you guys remember that. That was the president told us at that time. As we speak today, we had a ceremony that happened at the police depot here in Tesano, where the sword was cut for the construction of 100,000 houses, right? 100,000 houses. As we speak today, as at that time, that was in 2011, I remember very well. As we speak today, 13 years after, I just asked them, they should give us a single housing unit that was constructed under that project. It was being supervised by the office of the vice president. Again, remember in this country that Martin Amidu came to tell the whole country, not from us, Martin Amidu told us that it has never happened before in the Fourth Republic, that a sitting president asks his vice president to be investigated. It has never happened before. Martin Amidu came to tell us. We remember the Amajaro, cashew, cocoa scandals, right? There are numerous of them. If you want to remember what the good people of this country can easily recollect as vice president, that's the John Dramani Mahama candidate. So this is what Ghanaians are going to put together and compare the 2 candidates. Dr. Bawumia has never been president before. The highest level he has gotten to be is the vice president.
And the head of the economic management.
And the vice president.
The head of the economic management.
The vice president. And he has outlined.
But are you right now?
You're only adding.
No,
but I'm
but
continuing.
No,
she's only adding up. So I'm
but
continuing.
when you mentioned vice president.
You want me to give? Okay, fine. Yes. Is that what you wanted from me?
Yes.
Dollar to 50
Yes. Head of the economic management team.
Exactly.
Perfectly. Let me continue.
Dollar to 50.
Wanda, please allow him. He was quiet
for 15 minutes. I was here quiet, my brother. If you remember very well, when Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia had the opportunity to speak to Ghanaians at UPSA, he indicated that he is seeking for a job. And as a job seeker, it is important you tell your employees that this is your employers, that this is what I have done in the past, giving the opportunity as the vice president. And this is what I'll be doing.
Your prospective employees.
Well, very good. Just like you yourself, I believe you're going to vote in December. So you're part of his employers, right?
I'm not his employer.
Let me continue. He's seeking job from you. So you're going to vote for him.
From every Ghanaian.
So you're part of Ghanaians, right? So very good. So this is the issue. Dr. Bawumia has outlined his achievement in office as vice president. And there are numerous of them. And this is what he's telling the good people of this country. That what we are heading towards as a country, we need to see how best we can leverage on the private sector. Very, very important area. We keep saying the private sector is the engine of growth of any economy. So how do we leverage on the private sector to ensure that this economy that we are all looking out for, we can achieve it? He has also indicated that one of the challenges we face as a country over the years has been government expenditure, where we can always tell that year on, government expenditure keeps increasing. And as a result of that, there have always been this shortfall in revenue. So let's see how we can bring down government expenditure and increase our revenue generation in this country. These are the thematic areas Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is looking out for. And I think it is important that the good people of this country look out for these policies outlines. Look out for the details which we've been explaining. If it is important that in this country, we keep saying that as we speak today, we are doing 14% of GDP in terms of taxes. 14%. Less than what South Africa is doing, 29%. So it is important that we look out for our revenue mobilization mechanisms.
But we're talking about the NDC campaign team.
We are going to compete with them in an elections. They have outlined their footballers, their team, right? So we, from the MPP, we are also telling the good people of this country that this is what we can do better. Do you get the point?
But when are you coming out to their running mate?
When given the opportunity. When given the opportunity.
Does that mean that when I come here and Ask me a question.
Please, sir, please, please.
I can go
I have
and
not
decide
set my
that.
own question.
Inflation rate.
Why are you being uncomfortable?
The dollar rate.
Allow him now.
No,
That's how me directing
I
you.
am not uncomfortable. I came here to respond to questions you've asked me. I have my presidential campaign and my message to give. You didn't ask me of that. If that's the case, I want to assure you that the next question you would ask me,
you also talk
I will
about.
go ranting on what I will do for the people of Ghana.
Please.
Let's take you and your viewers serious.
Absolutely.
And let's not take this as a child's play. The topic and the discussion must not. If you will not discuss the topic,
Okay,
that's
allow
very
him.
unfortunate.
Yeah.
That's very unfortunate to describe this as a child's play. Very unfortunate.
Please come back to the topic.
What is the topic? The topic is NDC's campaign team. And what is the purpose of the campaign team? What are they going to do?
They're going to spearhead the campaign for
what?
For election 2024.
And we are also part of election 2024.
But you named your campaign team a long time ago.
Yes.
Yes, and the focus of discussion this morning.
I am going to have a football match with them, right? That's what we are going to do in 2024.
So you are setting your own questions.
So
that's what
I'm
you're
not
doing.
setting my own questions.
No, I'm asking.
Outlined their campaign team. That's the team going to spearhead their campaign, right? To do what? To contest, seek for power, the mandate, right? That's what they're going to do. So if given the opportunity to sit here this morning, it is only important that I also outline what my party and my leader, His Excellency Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia, is also advancing in ensuring that he wins election 2024. So what is on your campaign team does not really matters to me. Does not really matters to me. What matters to me this morning, and let me be very honest, Uncle, you can decide to call it child's play. Fine, I don't have any problem with that. But what is important is that giving an opportunity like GHOne this morning, knowing very well that our viewers are out there watching, I need to advance the cause of the New Patriotic Party. I need to tell the good people of this country that this is what Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia stands for.
So you're not interested in the constitution of the NDC campaign team? We
are going to, please. You see, you're not the one directing the discussions. Why are you being uncomfortable this morning, my brother? Don't do this. So you see, the whole argument is that there's a campaign team, right? This campaign team was in place in 2016, right? Some of them are still there. The same campaign team in 2020. They lost 2020 elections with this same team. I think there's only an add up this time around. We wish them well. We congratulate all the members on the campaign team. And we're also prepared for them in these elections. I think that's all I have to say on that. What is important is that Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia has put himself up for these elections. He has started his campaign a month ago.
But when are you coming out with your running
We've seen the momentum. We've seen the engagement. We've seen how the good people of this country
you didn't answer my question,
out to see and welcome him into their homes. Okay. Very, very important. With our running mates, we've stated it without numbers, that very soon a name will be mentioned. We are saying very soon the name will be mentioned. You get the point?
We have 5 months to go.
It does not matter. Running mates only comes to add up.
Are you settling on Dr. Matthew Pokupempe? There's an NIB report that suggests that he is highly tipped by the party to to partner Dr. Bawumia. Is that what the party is looking at?
I believe whoever will be chosen to partner Dr. Bawumia who has to be somebody.
Is Dr. Bawumia spoiled for choice? That's why he's unable to settle on one?
No. No. You know, a lot of factors goes into these decisions, right? So I think Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, from where he sits, he sees the bigger picture. So he has to look out for a lot of factors before selecting someone. We are very set in our minds that we've given him the mandate to lead our party. So whoever is going to pick and present to our party, we are going to accept him in good faith. Whether he or she, we are willing to work with the candidates.
Is your party looking at a woman?
Whether he or she.
No, I'm asking, is your party considering, we've seen a number of names bandied about. We've seen the Chief of Staff, for instance, Madame Fimo Pari. We've seen Irina Toshiado.
That's why I said we leave that in the hands of Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia to make a choice. And we are going to support whoever he presents to us. That's why we voted for him as the leader of our party. And with the survey out there, I think the main idea of the survey is to ensure that the best person is being selected for the running mate position. And I know very soon in the coming days, a name will be mentioned. So we are pleading with Ghanaians to give us that little space to name our running mates. We already have our campaign team in place. As I indicated, Dr. Bawumia has started his campaign last week.
Is your party going with the dominant narrative that the running mate must come from the Ashanti region?
And that's why I said there are a lot of factors that will lead to the selection of a running mate. It could be possible. Ashanti region is the stronghold of the MPP. So if you
and it's the poorest.
With a poor, you see.
No, but wonder. Hold on. We have not come to that topic. When we come to that topic, I'll allow you.
Is the stronghold of the MPP. So why not? If the factors or if the concerns coming from the Ashanti region takes lead that we need a running mate, why not? If we I think it will be considered. What is important is that Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia will give a name out, and we are all certain that that name is going to help his ticket win 2024 elections. That is what we are all looking out for.
Okay, thank you very much. So let's move on to our next topic briefly. The hands of our hotels demo. 30 seconds. Okay. You have anything to say, Chief?
Obviously.
Okay. So I'll give you 30 seconds. 30 seconds. So please go ahead. We have to move quickly to our next topic. But let me because usually Chief takes a longer time. Let me give him his 30 minutes, 30 seconds. I beg your pardon. Then
30 minutes.
No, 30 seconds. We have just less than 30 minutes to end the show.
First and foremost, I think that it's within space for you to ask questions. And if we are not willing to answer the questions, we should say that up front. But when a question is asked, and then we ignore you and start speaking on topics that we have chosen, that's marks of disrespect. Otherwise, seriously, like I said, we could all go ranting on what a Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, said and what he has done, or what a PNC policy will do in order to overcome the difficulties that we face. But I have said that because I don't come here with my topics, I have to honor and respect you. Anything short of that will actually not be that I came here for you. I came here on my own. The issues that have been raised, do we need to go into the record of the Vice President? The man who told us that every constituency was going to be giving $1 million, and that the equivalence in cities was going to be done. This was said in Bumpurugu Yuyo. And today, my constituency has not received $1 million. The last time I checked, it was claimed that an ambulance was bought, and that qualifies for $1 million. That smacks of thievery. It doesn't smack of honesty and integrity. To spend $1 million to go and buy an ambulance and use that as the basis for which 1 million. We're talking about one village, one dam. We're talking about one district, one factory, and go to the Upper West region, there's none in any of the 11 districts that we have. And we can talk about a litany of things that could go against the Vice President. But we decided that, look, that is not the subject matter. That is not the subject matter. We can talk about people, particularly the NDC and MPP, engaging in shallow and shadow boxing when the main issues that will resuscitate our economy are not tackled. Look, just yesterday, the Ghana Statistical Service, in part of the surveys that we are talking about, indicated that our GDP has grown by 4.7%. Yeah. And I said, where is this silliness coming from? When we talk about GDP, it actually means the wealth of a nation over a period. Right? How do you keep telling us that the wealth of our nation is growing, is increasing, and yet we keep borrowing to solve basic development problems that confront us? If our wealth is growing, we should have resources to be able to employ, to be able to reduce the poverty gap that exists in the Ashanti region. right? Ashanti region is the poorest, where people are suffering multiple, what we call dimensions of poverty. So you cannot claim that GDP is growing, your wealth is growing, when poverty is coming down.
Okay, your 30 seconds is up.
We are of a different version. But that is not the topic on which
Right.
you called me here.
Right.
Should I go on that tangent?
No, please. No, please. Wonder, 30 seconds.
In that if you were to ask us to compare the performance of the various vice presidents of the Fourth Republic, we would have done that easily. For example, you have a vice president who is the flag bearer of the MPP, that the party itself doesn't even believe in his own policies. For example, when he met, he referred to the UPS statement when he said that when he becomes president, he will scrap off e-levy. You remember? He said that. If the government should believe in you, they should do that now. They can do that. They are still in power.
Okay.
If the MPP government now believe in their own vice president, they should start implementing some of his policies. But they don't have that regard to his policies. That's a fact. By conduct, if the MPP should believe in their own vice president, he is saying that if he becomes president, he will scrap up the e-levy. They are in power. If another should believe in him, cabinet, they should just implement it now. And Ghanaians will just clap and say, oh, then he can take over from them. But the MPP itself doesn't believe in him. You are talking about housing, STS. We love Saglame. We love Saglame housing project for you. As it stands now, unfortunately, you guys have abandoned it. You are here talking about STS.
Okay. So 30 seconds. Because we have to move to our next
I will
topic.
do that quickly. You see, it's very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate. Let me repeat it again. That we are discussing elections 2024. And I had stayed within the realms of election 2024. I was not out of it. I didn't, please don't do this. I was within elections 2024 discussions. So whether I had to campaign for my candidate, when the topic is campaign team of the NDC, and you expect me to use my energy this morning to discuss the campaign team of the NDC, no, I will not do that.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So let's move to our next topic. 2 days ago, the Member of Parliament for North Tongue, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, led a number of protesters, including some members of the Gadangme Traditional Council, to protest against the 60% sale of 4 hotels under SNIT. Some of the protesters accused the police of high-handedness. A number of them sustained just varied degrees of injuries. A number of them were treated on site. And yesterday, I heard the Member of Parliament at the center of this, Barney Champon, saying that whatever Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa said with regards to his hotel, Rock City Hotel, incurring losses was a lie. I'll take your thoughts on that. Since you ended, let me start with you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I believe these issues came up a month ago or 2 months ago, and it has been in the space for this while. And well, I believe the premises or the context of these discussions has already been laid.
Right.
But for the benefit of these discussions, let me just quickly go through. You know, as far back February 2022, Senate had given an indication that they are seeking out for strategic partners. And the process had to start with looking out for transaction advisors. They started this as far back as 2022 February. They went ahead, they were able to contact, or they had engagement with some transaction advisors, including, mention them, the best within the country, or within even, it was an international exercise. So we had some international organizations even joining. They ended up picking one, and the process continued from there. There was this advertisement in the papers for strategic partners. It went on to the final decision was made on the Rock City Hotel. Yes, I believe very well that because of the personality of the person behind the Rock City Hotel had generated all this brouhaha all over within these few months. And I think it is important that we put it before the good people of this country that Rock City Hotel showed interest, just like any other party shown interest in acquiring 60% shares of the hotels of Senate. And if you look at the information we've gathered so far from Senate, indicates that Rock City gave them the best options, and they settled on Rock City. After a whole lot of issues has come up, I believe because he's a minister, that's why we are all having these discussions. Assuming he was just only a businessman, we wouldn't be here discussing this. Yes, there's an angle to this discussion that probably some conflict of interest may have taken place, or probably some insider information had went on to benefit him in winning this particular project. I think there is a petition before Shrine. Let's not forget that should investigate the processes. From the Senate's point of view, this process was transparent from the beginning to the final stage. And there's a concern from some Ghanaians, which I think they also have their legitimate concerns to also raise. And they've put in it before Senate. Shrine for investigation. I think we should allow investigations from Shrine, so it should start and continue, so that a conclusion will be made, and we cannot have that kind of understanding of what truly went on. That is what I want to put across this morning. With the antics and the political propaganda and agenda settings and creating a certain mentality into the Ghanaians, in the minds of Ghanaians, I think it's not helping these whole discussions. Yesterday, we heard the individual within the center of this whole discussion stating that his hotel, that's the Rock City Hotel, had not even declared their taxes yet. And they are to do so by the end of this month. And per the law, this ending of this month is the final deadline for declaring of their taxes, 2023 taxes. And he had even challenged to Honorable Kujeta Blakwa that if he has any information of such activity, he should make it public. And he has put it up, I think, if you know very well, one hotel in his constituency on the line. And a house
at
Trasaco. That if he has any information, this is a very simple bet. So we are calling on him, a very simple bet. This morning, he should call the media, present this evidence to them, and go and take the keys to this house. Even if you don't want it, he should mention an NGO or charitable organization is going to donate it to them. This could tell you how passionate Brian Achampong is about this particular matter. I think we should take our time in how we go with it. Yes, some people will also argue that he shouldn't have even gone close to this whole processes. From my point of view, from where I sit, I think, looking at his personality, it would have been better he didn't even go there. But he is there as a business entity, not as a politician. They went with their proposals as Rock City Hotel, a business entity. So I think it is only fair we allow an investigative body mandated to investigate conflict of interest into this matter, and the conclusions being brought to it. So Ghanaians will know very well that if Senate is saying from the beginning of the process, they had to go through transparency, very, very important. And I've seen the processes they went through, with the selection of the transaction advisor to the selection of the strategic partner. There have been some concerns. If you look at the Senate's record so far on these hotels, within the past 14 years, out of these 11 years, these hotels were making losses of close to 9 years or so. And a very major concern that I think we all need to look out is that these hotels are not paying.
Labadi Beach Hotel, at its current state, is not making losses. Well, it suffered for like 11 years. Yes. 4 years ago, the fortunes have been turned around.
You see,
so why put it up for sale?
In making business strategic decisions, it is important that we look out for growth. Very, very important. Not just only making profits.
Does it mean that Senate was preempting that Labadi Beach will suffer more losses again, even after making gains in the last 4 years?
You see, I like the line of questioning. Projecting, very important. You look into the business environment. You look out for prospects, right? Then see how best you can take advantage of those prospects. Right. And one of those strategies is to look out for strategic partners who will come in with fresh money, inject in some energy into the business. So it is not just making profit alone. That is the end of the story. Looking out for growth opportunities is also significant in any business strategic decision making. Do you get the point? So I think where we find ourselves, we've already crucified the gentleman. That's Honorable Brian Achampong in the public space. We've created. Would
you want him to back out of this sale then? I mean, because he said if you had your way, he shouldn't have actually ventured. In the midst of all the controversy and all the people who are against it, organized labor, even the people of La, you saw the Wulome. And one of the Wulome said he is a party card holder of the New Patriotic Party, and he is against it. If you have your way, would you advise your brother or your big brother, Brian Achampong, to stay off the purchase of these hotels?
I believe he went in with a good intention to help salvage a challenge at hand. And looking at the backlash and the public sentiment, well, I believe the process is not concluded yet.
Yes, right? It is not.
It's still ongoing. Well, for the good of it, I would have advised him staying off. Because, you see, we're in an election year.
Absolutely.
And what the NDC and Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa seeks to achieve is very simple. Create a fictitious narrative in the minds of Ghanaians. That we are at a point where we are capturing everything in this country as a political organization. This same thing was done in 2008, where we were told that our gold reserves at the Bank of Ghana, if you remember very well, by the then propaganda secretary of the NDC, during one of their Setting the Record Streets series, stated categorically that the gold reserves at the Bank of Ghana, former President Kufuor had depleted everything, right? And when the opportunity was given to him to provide evidence, he told Ghanaians that it was just a campaign strategy that he had to embark on. And we can clearly tell the good people of this country that this is what the NDC is good at. They are determined in creating that fictitious narrative in the mind of Ghanaians, that to reject the new patriotic party in the coming elections. This is an electoral mechanism machinery.
Are you then suggesting that the people who partook in the demonstration are not discerning enough?
No, I am not saying
because you say that they are creating a fictitious narrative in the minds of Ghanaians for Ghanaians to swallow. So the people you saw the demonstration. It was a mammoth demonstration.
I witnessed everything.
Exactly.
Everything.
So are you saying that the people, the members of TUC, the members of the Gadengbe Traditional Council are not discerning enough to decipher if somebody is trying to dissuade them from the truth?
You see, from where you sit, you are well exposed to a lot of information, right?
Absolutely.
So your decision making will be very informed as compared to somebody who is not exposed to information like yourself. Do you get the point? We know what is going on. Informations are out there, but as to how it's being channeled to the Ghanaian people is the problem. That's what I'm saying. The informations on this SNIT deal are already out there.
Why?
It was from the beginning, transparency from the onset. If you pick the Daily Guide and the Ghanaian Times, the advertisement for strategic partners were stated in there. And I think Economist magazine also. These informations were already out there. People went in and presented their proposals. And if you look at the Brian Nechampon proposal, the Rock City proposal, Senate was looking out for $59.1 million.
Yeah.
And the Rock City had presented $61-point-something million. You get it? So there's even an increase in what the Rock City is presented as to what they were looking out for. So all these informations are out there. Yet, for the agenda settings reasons, and for the purposes of trying to hoodwink Ghanaians into believing that this is a state capture, we've created a certain narrative, as I call it, fictitious narrative, such that Ghanaians will believe the lies of what others are saying. The truth is that the process has been transparent from the onset. There is a petition before Shraj. I'll plead with Ghanaians. We should allow Shraj to go on with these investigations. We've seen some before. You see, Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa has a track record. If you remember the Obitabi Lamte situation, right? Same scenario. It ended up at the court, and what was the ruling? You get the point. So we know this individual, and we know what he's capable of doing. The person within the center of this whole brouhaha is saying that I have not declared my taxes for 2023. Yet this individual is out there claiming he has some documents with some serial numbers and some names putting out there that Rock City made losses 2023. And Rock City is an entity which needs help, but not Rock City rather helping other. And the people behind Rock City are saying that we've not declared our taxes yet. We have till the end of this month to do so. So it tells Ghanaians that it is a deliberate attempt by some people to create that narrative just to win election 2024. So we are only calling on Ghanaians. If we've given state institutions the mandate to investigate conflict of interest and other related activities, we should allow the investigations to go on. And when the findings are made, we all be comfortable and say that this was what the committee or the institution that is mandated to investigate this matter, this is the findings they're putting out there. Then we cannot be convinced of that. If not, if we are not too careful, in an election year, we will be hoodwinked in believing any story out there by any political activist or political character whose agenda is to win election 2024. Thank you very much.
Wanda.
Sorry. Thank you very, very much. MPP and their politics is very interesting. You see, you asked a very simple question. If you had your own way, what will you tell your big brother? He said, oh, I wish he doesn't involve himself. That could have been the end of story. This narrative of a fictitious this, no. Even you yourself, you say you wish the man does not involve himself. Then you come back and say, oh, those who did the demonstration, they probably don't have the information. You yourself seated here, you say you wish. No, I'm not personalizing it. You will ask the question.
Please allow him. Please allow him.
It's not personalized.
No, you will ask the question here.
You're personalizing.
No.
My opinion does not really matter in this whole discussions. There's an investigation ongoing.
Please allow him.
If you put
you stated that. That's why he's saying that.
I made a lot of statements.
Yes, but so you don't
the agenda he wants to set.
But you don't exactly. You don't pick and choose. Exactly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Because same way they claim that you picked what you wanted to discuss. Not you cannot pick and choose for him as well.
I'm not picking and choosing.
But you're saying he's personalizing it. You made that statement categorically here on the show. Yes. So kindly allow him land. When you have any rebuttal, then please note it down. Yeah.
Yes.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
Yes. You know, as we sit here, we are communicating and people listen to us. So we should not be quick to run away from our own words.
Oh.
Anyway, you see, when you talk about SNIT, I think that maybe we may have to mention SNIT in full so that people know the institution we are talking about. This has to do with pensions, social security, pensions. So if the asset of such an institution is being done as though it's a political play, this person says this person says that, we should know the institution we are talking about. Because it can affect all of us here, unless if you don't pay SNIT. At that crucial age, when you retire at 60, and you get to know that there are no funds, that is when you know the impacts. Quite recently, when during the haircut issue, people were picketing at the finance ministry. I think a former chief justice was part of those picketing. Why do we allow persons in old age to be struggling? Right, conflict of interest issues has arisen. And when conflict of interest issue arises, you look at a lot of circumstances. For example, quite recently, the CEO for SNIT resigned. Quite recently, in the midst of all of this.
He was sacked.
It was sacked, eh?
He was sacked.
It was sacked, thank you. The CEO for SNIT was sacked.
With a very harsh worded letter.
Thank you. The CEO for SNIT was sacked. And conflict of interest, perception matters. So if you sack the CEO for SNIT, and all of a sudden, issues about conflict of interest, a minister of state using his company is the beneficial owner, whether we like it or not, of Rock City, trying to acquire the asset of SNIT. It raises concerns. It raises concern. But which Ghanaian will be surprised with this? No, I'm not surprised. Because we're in this country, just within this administration, the minister for energy, virtually, should I say, fought. There was that fight, when I say fight, with the board chairman for GMPC. Because the GMPC board chair had attempted to sell Ghana's share in the oil block to a South African company, Petro SA, in this country. The Minister for Energy had to openly write a letter to the presidency to stop the board chairman for GMPC from selling our share in the oil block to a South African company. That's the extent the MPP can go. And talking about the former, the butcher of GMPC, it's not just anybody. He's the former chairman of the MPP. He attempted selling our share. So MPP is trying to sell state properties to private institutions and all of that. Me, I'm not surprised because they even wanted to sell it, our oil block, to a foreign company in this country. And for the minister, for the sector minister to write a letter, it tells you that all the backroom conversations had fallen. That's why I mentioned the stature, for you to know the stature of Blay within the MPP. He's a former chair. So for the energy minister to write an open letter, a letter to the president, and it was all over, that look, stop the chair for GMPC from selling our assets. So me, I wasn't surprised. To be very honest, I wasn't surprised with this. Because it's happening. And the manner in which the CEO was sacked raised concerns. You gave a very good statistics about Alabadi Beach, that recently they are doing very well in terms of profits. Look, if you've done managerial accounting, not even financial accounting, managerial accounting, you will know that you don't take decision just because even if a company is making losses. You can use the costs to take decisions. So, for example, if it will cost you $1,000 to shut down a company versus you spending $2,000, or versus you spending $200 to run the company, it is better to run the company even if you are at a loss, because of the cost implication. Because eventually the business could peak. As it stands now, as you rightly said, Labadi Beach is not even at loss. They are making significant profits. We've just been told that Rock City, the company under question, they are yet to even file their taxes for 2023. They say they will do that by end of this month. We don't even know their financial states. Rock City, we don't know their financial states. I don't speak to speculations. Otherwise, the facts that are out there, that Rock City is just a big building in terms of administration, in terms of profit, occupancy rate, and all of that, there's nothing.
Okay.
Even if Rock City is a very performing hotel, is it good for the people of this country that a minister of state want to acquire a state property under this circumstance, where even before the deal was concluded, the CEO for SNIT have been sacked, and I've just been informed that he was sacked with a harsh worded letter.
The presidency clarified and said it was part of restructuring.
That's why I said that when you talk about conflict of interest, perception matters. Look, even if you declare your interest, even if you declare your interest, and it turns out that by virtue of you being the CEO, it had that kind of compelling force on the members of the committee in taking a decision. Conflict of interest could be a case could be made for conflict of interest. It's not for nothing at all that ministers are asked to declare their assets. It's not for nothing at all. It's because of some of these things, to check some of this attitude. It's to check some of this attitude. You see, I don't like going personal about this stuff.
Okay.
Otherwise, we were here when Honorable Brandon Champion went for vetting. We knew the work he was doing in the US. You understand? We knew the work he was doing in the US. He went for vetting. All those issues popped up. So if all of a sudden, now he want to buy SNIT, asset of SNIT, it tells you what the MPP can do within a very short time.
But does any law bar him from buying or purchasing this?
I have just told you that in the interest of corporate governance, The same things, yeah, you don't do it. Minister of State, a cabinet minister, the same thing, you don't do it. In company law, there's something we call beneficial owners. So even if you're not a director of the company, and you're a beneficial owner,
he's the majority stakeholder.
yes, that's it. Is in the interest of good corporate governance. You don't attempt it at all. This is not to say that maybe we are perfect or something, but we are a minister of state. Otherwise, just resign.
Okay.
We've just discussed a topic on running mate. Do you know his name popped up as one of the possible choice to be running mate? So if you want to even rise to the position of vice, we are aspiring to the position of vice president of the republic. And even as minister, you are interested in taking this is state capture. What is it? So now, by the time we get to 60 years, our monies that are supposed to run making profits. If in the past, some 11 years ago, Labadi Beach was not making profit, it was not sold at that time. By the grace of God, through good management system, now they are making profit. Then you say now we are selling it. I mean, who does this? Now, if I sit here and say that, look, the CEO was sacked because he doesn't believe in what the MPP was trying to do through their minister to purchase this, that could be a good inference to make. But as a lawyer, I normally don't want to speak on speculations, but we are forced to. We are forced to. How many CEOs has the president sacked within his 8 years? Even reshuffled. Even when about over 80 MPs of his own party said they don't want the finance minister, he refused to sack him. His own MPs, so they said that look, they've gone to the constituencies and their constituents are telling them that they don't want the finance minister, the then finance minister. Even that one, the president refused to sack the finance minister. So if all of a sudden president comes and sacks Smith CEO and says that it's part of restructuring, who will believe this story?
Right.
Thank you.
Chief.
Lily, like FAD, I think that Brian Achampong should have used yesterday's media encounter to express his discontinuation and that of his company in this whole transaction. The Brian Achampong that I know has money. He can build hotels. What he has put at Rock City is super. I also know as a fact that when Brian Achampong was Minister of State at the Ministry of Interior, the Ayawaso West Wagon or Wugon elections, by-elections took place. He was accused variously for the mayhem that befell us as a people. Sam George, an NDC MP, received slaps. People were injured. A footballer who had come home and to return to his career had his leg perpetually gone. Somebody's future and that of his family got destroyed because it was speculated that Brian Achampong was the one who caused that trauma. Later in life, Brian Achampong will be nominated for Ministry of Agric. And people thought that it was pay time, particularly for the NDC, that they would not vote him because of what he had done in shredding our democracy. It turned out he got the highest vote, even after a secret ballot. You remember the hula baloo in Parliament?
Yeah.
He got the highest vote.
Yeah.
Just after that, NDC were going for their parliamentary primaries. And go and check. Some of them will tell you that Brian personally contributed to support them. So they are friends in parliament. I have known that this guy want to buy the Royal Kosi Hotel in Jirapa. I have no problem with that, particularly after the death of the founder and CEO. What I have problem with is anybody buying state assets. And I have said on millions of occasions that the sale of state assets is a no for me. If you find that a state asset is non-performing, what do? You first have to look at the raison behind the formation of the state asset and then put in the necessary structures to make it function to meet that need. To sell that state asset is to show how useless you have become. Need I list the number of state assets we have sold and whether they've been able to meet the expectations of our nation? You recall Ghana Telecom. I'm bringing recent ones. Yeah. We recall Ghana Telecom in 2007 thereabout. We said it was not making profit. We needed to balance 1 year budget deficit. So we sold Ghana Telecom for about 700 million, including its one touch. Every day, I sit down and I cry. And I expect FAD to join me in the tears. Look, Lily, take it this way. That a day on average, the 20 million subscribers, each one of us use on average 10 Ghana cedis, data or voice, whichever network. And 20 million subscribers. Multiply daily 20 million by 10 Ghana cedis, how much do you get?
I can do that math for you.
That is about 200 million a day.
Yeah.
That is how much money Ghana gets or is raised from the telecos every day. Now multiply that by 365 days. That will make a year, right? And tell me how much money the telecos get from us. Is it not irresponsible, illogical, irrational for the state to say that the teleco is not making profit and you will sell it? Just look at the figures we are talking about. So we sold our one touch, and so the people that bought it Vodafone, they come and they gather their share of the 200 million that we get in a day. Put it at the back of their back. Carry their bag. Boom. They are out into the United Kingdom, chopping our money. And we are here breaking our back in the sun. Ashanti region is the poorest, where poverty is rampant. And yet, this is how much we have decided that we will not participate in the direct revenues, but we should take tax revenues from this institution. That is my worry. It's also foolish to say that a state institution is not making profit. It is not all state institutions that are supposed to make profit by their setup. Look, listen to me. As we have been encouraged to do, that sell off all the revenue-making institutions and keep the expenditure-making institutions. So, the public service, they don't generate revenue. Right? They are an expenditure institution. The police or the security service, they don't generate revenue. They They are an expenditure institution.
Yeah.
Now, take every other thing that we are allowed to maintain. They are expenditure institutions or not revenue institutions. How foolish can we be? Those that are making revenues, we are advised that we should not participate in their management. But those that don't make revenue, we are asked to maintain them. And you can understand our reasoning capacity. I can imagine our reasoning capacity. So we sold Ghana Telecom, where we could make money. We sold Ghana Airways, where we could make money. We sold the Black Star Line, where we could make money. We sold in Sawam Canary, where we could make money. They generate direct revenue, so that direct revenue will now be used to support the services and expenditure outlets. See, it's frightening, the level of intelligence of our leaders. And I always cite this example because I come from the Upper West region. I am certain that if it is about profitability, survivability, and viability, no bank in the Upper West region can make profit. How many businesses do we have? How many cattle or goats or granules can we sell to ensure that we save for the banks to become profitable? So the banks in Laura, and I always use Laura, the hometown where I schooled, Anthony Cabo. You think that any of the banks in Laura, Ghana Commercial Bank and Agri Development Bank, is because they are making profit, that's why they are established in Laura? No. We established them, they could be making losses in Laura, but they are serving a certain critical need. Why? We have teachers there, not so. We have nurses there. We have security agents there. We have doctors there. They have to receive their salaries. So consequently, you will put up this structure, this bank in those constituencies, on those areas, so that the people that government employs will not leave at the end of the month, leave Laura and go to Bolgatanga or come to Tamale. Can you imagine that at the end of the month, all workers are moving to go and collect their salaries?
Expense of travel.
Not just the travel. Do you know the pandemonium that occasion? There is no police. There is no doctor. There is no nurse. All the teachers, everybody is traveling. Take away the travel difficulties. And just imagine the pandemonium that will occasion within the 3 days. The country will
grind to a halt.
Low productivity will occasion. So you get up and say, on the basis of the non-profitability of those institutions, you are selling them. Your thinking is so myopic, so midget. It is in the same
but we're spending money still on these assets because
some institutions,
we need to pay water, we need to pay electricity.
Some parts make profit to offset the losses in some parts in order that you meet the essential void. Look, if you tell every worker to move and come to Tamale or come to Techiman or go to Tamale to Bolga to go and receive their salary, do you know the impact on productivity for you as a nation? So when you factor it, it is not just physical profit and dividends. That the other profits that you are unable to calculate is also measured. And then at the end of the day, you realize that it makes sense to keep these lost leaders. And that is part of the reason why the state have these institutions. And that is why workers decided that through Senate, they will form these hotels. Not all of them will make profits. But if you are a worker and you get to these hotels, because it is in the name of the workers, do you know that the rate is lower? Go to the NAT hostels, and if you are a teacher and you are able to prove your card, do you know that the rate at which you will pay is far lower than when other people will pay? That is the benefit you get. So workers will go to Senate facilities, and because they are able to prove with their workers' ID, what they will pay will be different from when you go there. You know that. So why are we not factoring all those things as the need for which these institutions exist?
Okay.
Now, for the past 14 years, Labadi Beach Hotel made losses only twice. So if you were looking for non-performing assets, will Labadi Beach be part of it? If you moved as we speak, take your cameras and go to La Palm Royal Beach. Have you seen the facelift? Have you seen the expansion that they are doing? They are doing the expansion to auction. Yesterday I was listening to the MD or CEO. He said that, look, the facelift that they are bringing is to indicate to you that they are ready for the new takeoff. Why are you adding those things? Now, finally, you go to the Labadi area. Go and tell me how much one piece of plot will cost. Just a plot. Then you come and tell me that 4 hotels are being bought for 61 million. I mean,
Okay, gentlemen, unfortunately our time
honestly
is up. Yeah, our time is up. Yeah, unfortunately. You had your time. Yeah, unfortunately.
Well, it didn't finish. You cut me.
Yes,
I just had
yes,
to stop.
that's what I'm saying. It's 9 a.m. So
I have no. This is your
Respect
show.
our host.
Thank you very much,
what are you trying to
gentlemen.
do?
Bernard Mona is flag bearer aspirant for the PNC. Wanda Victor Kuto is member NDC and NEC legal team as well. Fad Usman is a member of the NPP communications team. Thank you very much, gentlemen. That's it for the breakfast review. We take a quick break. When we return, we come back with Health Alert. Welcome back to the show. This is still GH Today here on GHOne TV. It's now time for Health Alert. And on Monday, the medical laboratory professionals announced a nationwide strike. And I'm sure you've seen reports, especially by our news team, where a number of people have been left stranded in various health facilities. I've been joined in the studio by Dr. Franklin Amatiama. He's National Vice Chairman of the Medical Laboratory Professionals Workers Union. Good morning, Doc. How are you?
Good morning, and good morning to your cherished viewers out there.
You announced on June 3 that you will embark on a nationwide strike on Monday, June 7. And you actually heeded to that announcement that you made. 14 days after that announcement, what was the conversation with employers?
Well, sadly, the conversation has not been encouraging. And I think that duty bearers are failing Ghanaians and treating Ghanaians unfairly. Perhaps they can afford the private labs, and so they are not bothered. But they should at least think of their relatives and the common Ghanaian. You reckon that 14 days was submitted for duty bearers to act? Because, you see, not often all the media, everybody is engaging that we should consider the common Ghanaian.
Exactly.
But what we fail to realize is that the medical laboratory scientist is also a human being and is subject to the emotions and everything. So we are not even immune to the excesses of our action. But you should reckon that we are there because we submitted ample time. As leaders, we started this journey not today. 2 years down the line, we are still having conversations about our conditions of service. A document that will take 2 years to expire, and you are taking more than 2 years to have conversations about it. It tells you that the document is even expired on arrival. But how did we get here? It has been failure on the part of duty bearers to act. And we have been containing our people on the ground that calm down. But you see, the feeling has been pent up over the period.
What are your demands?
Well, we are demanding just 2 things.
Okay.
A codified conditions of service, specially tailored for the medical laboratory scientists, because what we do is unique. And then 2, our brothers who completed school, some of them as far back as 2018, have not been engaged because there is no financial clearance. Now, what is sad about this and disheartening is that because we have need of these professionals, the facility managers have engaged them on a casual basis, on a contract basis. And if you look at their remuneration, you'll be sad. We live in a country where there are laws that equal work for equal pay. And so it is just not fair to them. And some of them are very hardworking. And they work, and when you see what they take home, even ours, we are complaining that it is not good enough. you can imagine what they are taking. So then, I don't. It's.
But you mentioned conditions of service. What are these conditions of service?
So conditions of service spells out everything about your work. It includes the work environment. You know, we work in a very hazardous environment.
Right.
And so we need protective things to work.
Okay, so in the conditions of service, you're asking me protective where?
All those things are there. Where the contention is the things that should appear on our payslip. And that the Fair Wages and Salary Commissions tells us that they need a certain financial mandate from the Ministry of Health. And so that is where the problem is. We are told that the country is in difficulties. Now, we are aware that the country is in some difficulties. So we were also very measured in the proposal that we submitted.
Yeah.
Then in any case, what we have submitted is not cast in stone. It is negotiation. And so it is negotiation that will help us come to a common ground.
Yeah.
When it was clear to us that the negotiation was not forthcoming, we wrote to you, gave you ample time, 2 weeks. We think that 2 weeks was not enough for duty bearers to engage us to have important negotiation so that we can come to a common ground. I think that we should lay the facts where they are.
You
Duty
said,
bearers are failing us.
okay, you said you've been at this for 2 years. What was told you in this 2-year period?
Well, so in this 2-year period, it will interest you to note that we have meetings sometimes once in a quarter, 3 months. We have to come into the public space, agitate before we are given opportunity to negotiate. Now, people we started ahead of the negotiation have come and duly signed their codified conditions of service.
Okay.
And time is of essence in these things. The more it drags, the more you are shortchanging the medical laboratory professional. It is for this reason that we submitted to them at least ample time within which they should act. And maybe they call our bluff, and we are where we are today. And so what we see is a boomerang of a certain pent-up feeling of the medical laboratory professional.
What's your constitution? What's your makeup? If you say medical laboratory professionals, what's your makeup?
So medical laboratory professionals are the group of scientific workers who work across the various government institutions and also the mission hospitals. And anybody who draws his salary from accountant and controller general. And our function is very simple. We take samples all over the body and we analyze and we tell what disease condition may have caused same. In some instances, we even go to grow the organism artificially and we use antibiotics to determine exactly what medicine can cure your condition. So we work hand in hand collaboratively with medical officers to cure patients and to monitor treatment. So that encompasses what we do as medical laboratory professionals.
I have seen a press release by the Ministry of Health who says that government has reached a certain negotiation term with your team. Has this come to your notice, or have you reached any negotiation term?
Well, you will take note that we wrote to the Ministry of Health because that is our parent ministry.
Yeah, that's your mother employer.
It will surprise you to know that out of disrespect for my group, they did not bother even to dignify our letter with a response by writing. What we picked is what you also have, the signals in the public space. Is that a fair treatment? We respectfully.
So you wrote to the Ministry of Health. Okay.
And you are our parent ministry. So we are telling you that this is the challenge that we have. These are the pertinent issues challenging us. Can you please do something about it? You did not. Until we vented our frustration by laying down our tools on the 17th, then you put out this communique.
Was the communique to you, or it was just intercepted in the media? Was the communique to you?
The communique was not to us. It was to the public.
Okay.
And so that is where we also picked the feed appealing to us. And in this letter, there was a lot of violation of negotiation rule.
Okay, like?
the Ministry of Health sought to create a certain disaffection for the medical laboratory professional by putting details of negotiation, mentioning things like uniform, unsociable allowance, and all those things. That violates clearly negotiation rules. And so if you have seen the fair wages letter, you reckon that they did not mention details. They only talked about numbers. You see? So the public, have you seen any medical laboratory professional wearing uniform before? We don't.
No.
In his letter, he maliciously chose the nomenclature uniform alone. But it's uniform stroke clothing. Why? Because we do not wear uniform, but we appear in our space of work in a dignified manner.
Yeah.
Because before you can get the client coming can get a certain confidence in you, you must appear in a defined manner. Because society have well-defined notions of what the body image should look and how we should appear. So if you go into the lab and the person doesn't appear professional, but in the tattered clothing, how will you allow the person to take your blood sample? And so if we are asking for clothing allowance, rightfully so, we need to be supported to appear good. But you maliciously put it out there that we are looking for uniform allowance when everybody knows we don't wear uniform. Is it not a deliberate attempt to incite the public against the medical laboratory professional? Our members were extremely appalled, and it is us that have to calm them down. That perhaps it is not deliberate, but maybe out of genuine frustration. But how did we get here? We submitted to you 14 days. You acknowledge receipt of having received a letter. On the 4th, it took you 13 days to respond. You never responded. Only for us to vent our frustration, and you come and put this malicious communique out there.
Now, what has been the communication with the Fair Wages so far?
Well, so the Fair Wages and Salary Commission has also not communicated to us officially.
Oh, okay.
And you see, when you are dealing with the people called scientists, you must be careful. They have put a certain letter out there, which is dated on the 5th of June. Meaning that, so the letter that we wrote to the Ministry of Health, we gave them
a copy.
Of course, not just a copy, we wrote to them directly.
Okay.
And they acknowledged receipt of same on the 5th of June. And then they also wrote to the following people on the 5th of June. They wrote to the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations, Ministry of Finance, National Labor Commission, and the Ministry of Health. Now, all these people that they listed, copied in their letter, we wrote to you, we were not copied.
Okay.
You know why? It is a knee-jerk reaction. They never really wrote any letter, and I dare them. If they like, we should go and do just letter registry audit. They never really wrote any letter. It was a knee-jerk reaction when our people have vented their frustration before they came out with that letter. Because you see, I know the caliber of who the Minister of Employment is. If he had been written to that letter, we have good relationship, working relationship with a man. He would have acted on it. So they are putting the Ministry of Labor, Employment and Labor Relations even in the bad light that they copied them all this while and they sat aloof and allowed such essential caregivers to embark on what they have embarked on. We must learn to treat the essential caregivers as essential caregivers. Other than that, we will run into these difficulties. The law makes provision that when we have issues, they should be dealt with expeditiously. If you do not do that, because you see, we are also human beings. Absolutely. And we vent our frustrations, we will not be there to take care of the common Ghanaian for all of us. You
say you have a very good relationship with the employment minister. What has been his posture all this while prior to you embarking on the strike? I mean, you had demands.
Well, I think that what we do is to engage. But we should know that within what we do, everybody has his remit. It is only when his attention is drawn that there is difficulty that he can act. In this case, I dare say that even though the evidence that the Fair Wages and Salary Commission sought to put out there suggests that his attention has been drawn, knowing the caliber of the man, I know that his attention was not drawn. And the letter just came in and backdated to suggest that, of course, they acted. Indeed, they did not act. They waited, sat aloof until our people vented their frustration and knee-jerk reaction, trying to backdate a letter. And they have a history of that. Some of the letters that we have received over. So we were disappointed, but not really surprised by their action.
The Ministry of Health says that it acknowledges your strike. However, it is ready to address your concerns at the negotiation table. Are you going back to the negotiation table?
The Ministry of Health, as we speak now, has not invited us. A communique out there is not an invitation.
Okay.
You communicate that you are appealing to us to rescind the decision. But you will recognize that when people are frustrated in this manner, leaders must have something tangible in hand to convince them, because they have gone through it over 2 years. And so you need something tangible. So what the ministry has done, fine, is just to tell the public that they are doing something. But the needful, that will require us properly fixing a meeting, they have not submitted anything like that for consideration.
What will you term needful? Would you want to hear from the Fair Wages? Would you want to hear from the Employment Ministry? Would you want to hear from the Ministry of Health?
Essentially, the work that is left to be done hinges on the Fair Wages and Salary Commission.
Right.
But all these people are facilitators. So all of them have to do their part. We will also do their part to have effective dialogue so that we can iron out the issues.
What will make you return to the various health facilities?
Well, I've submitted to you that having gone through this difficulty over the years, we need something in hand. A certain timeline commitment that within this time, we will engage and finish our conditions of service. Listen to me. Time is of essence.
Absolutely.
And these things have financial implications. And so government will tell you that it should be properly captured in the budget, rightfully so. And so if it should be captured in the media budget, essentially, we need to work on these things especially. Because the medical laboratory professional will not be patient to be shortchanged for all this whilst others are busily enjoying. We shop in the same market, and we must remain economically viable.
So then, if you're saying you want timelines, would you want timelines to meet the specified conditions of service you are asking for, or they should meet you halfway?
Well, that is negotiation anyway. If what we submitted in casting is cast in stone, we will not be having negotiations anyway. So what we are saying is that as much as we are prepared to trade something for something, which is normal.
What will you be willing to trade?
Well, so some of the things that the Ministry of Health stray to mention, some of them could be traded for something we cannot trade for.
Okay.
And the things we cannot trade for are the essentials.
Like?
We work in the health facility, so we should have a certain conviction that in the unlikely event that we fall prey to the diseases that surround us, we will be properly taken care of. So we are not asking for too much. So these are the things that we are not likely to compromise on.
But we didn't hear you complain, especially at the height of COVID, where your services was very, very critical, where your needs met at the time.
Well, so COVID saddled all of us as a country. If you are somebody who have been following the laboratory profession for some time, you reckon that the medical laboratory professionals somewhere in 2017 even have to strike for due to a lack of a certain laboratory policy.
Yes.
Now, the laboratory policy would have ensured that when COVID came to the fore, we wouldn't have been saddled. But we were not listened to. And sadly, we were all saddled with COVID. It took only a research institution, two of them, Noguchi and then KCCR in Kumasi, to be doing testing for us. And we all saw how important the laboratory component of healthcare is. We depended on it to admit, and we depended on it to discharge. And so clearly, you can see that this country, duty bearers don't listen to us until there is crisis. So when COVID came, that was a pandemic situation. That would be unreasonable to be demanding things and all that. But at least,
it's been 4 years
having been saddled,
COVID,
some structures were put in place, and at least today in some regional capitals, when in the unlikely event that we should suffer something like this, we will have some capacity to test.
Do you think, as laboratory professionals, you are taken for granted in the scheme of things when it comes to healthcare delivery?
Rightfully so. Rightfully so. I do not want to play the comparison game here, but it is a fact that if it is some other groupings within the health sector that indicated their frustration to the Ministry of Health, they wouldn't have treated it with the contempt and disrespect that they offered. I think that quickly people should have a renewal of mind about who the laboratory professional is. Either we were just 3-year trained group of people, and the nomenclature to identify us is technicians. We have evolved over the years, and as we speak, we have state doctors in our midst for 6 years training, equal to what pertains in the medicine and also the pharmacy. And then we also have PhDs and professors in our rank and file. And so one must be careful when you are dealing with a medical laboratory professional. We have become sophisticated over the period. And it is important that what we also deserve, because we are giving more, it is not just knowledge being acquired, but you can see that knowledge will translate into quality service. And so we must be properly placed where we belong to function appropriately for this country.
Doc, thank you very much for coming. We do hope that you will be engaged and you return soon. How soon are you looking at returning? Do you think you'll be engaged anytime soon so you can return? Because there are a number of people who are at the mercy of you.
Well, I have submitted to you that the onus lies on the Fair Wages and Salary Commission to engage. Strike will never solve the problem. Strike, which is a fact, will never solve the problem. We are seeking to draw attention so that we will engage. Let duty bearers do the needful and invite us properly. We'll come and have that effective dialogue to iron out the issues.
Should duty bearers invite you today to the negotiation table? Would you return to the negotiation and then return back to the health facilities?
Well, we are sensitive people, and we know that we offer emergency care in some instances. And so when it is submitted, it will be duly considered.
Since you say you are sensitive people, I'm sure you've seen reports, especially pregnant women appealing to you. Does it sadden you that you have to let these people?
As a human being, I am saddened because I'm subject to the emotions of everybody like you. And I belong to a family, and you get calls and you have friends across, and you get calls across the nation that could you help us with this? My person is dying. And so we ourselves, we are subjected to serious emotional traumas. And so to that extent, if duty bearers act, we will swiftly also consider and rally around to solve the problem.
Okay. We do hope that your concerns are...
What we cannot do is to shortchange the medical laboratory professional, who is also first.
If you say shortchange, what do you mean?
Who is also first. So they have needs. They have been working desperately and happily over this time. This can affect their productivity and their decision making on the ground. So we are bothered about giving quality service. So if they have needs, same must come to the attention of duty bearers to act on. We cannot treat the medical laboratory professional as a means to an end, because they are also human beings. And so, in as much as you are saying that we may be treating the public and the ordinary Ghanaian as a means to an end, two wrongs do not make right. The same way we cannot treat the medical laboratory professional also as a means to an end. And so let us go for a win-win situation where the medical laboratory professional is also properly equipped and happy to deliver quality service. And the public is also properly taken care of by being offered the quality service that they deserve.
Since you talk about equipped, I was ending, but since you talk about well-equipped, I'm sure you saw the Ghana Health Service report that just about 5% of health facilities in the whole of Ghana is well-resourced. Does this bring to bear the issues in that are critical to healthcare delivery in Ghana, that duty bearers are not paying particular attention to?
Well, as a country, I think that we need to pay attention to our healthcare systems. There is a lot that we...
Like what? I mean, you work in the facilities.
Well, I think that the health sector itself is premised on solving symptoms instead of the root cause problem. Now, if we have a healthcare service that is disjointed of an ambulance service, I'm just telling you something to stimulate a certain conversation in the future. That is disjointed of an ambulance service. It cannot be proper. Because ambulance service is very much critical to quality healthcare delivery.
Yeah.
And so these are conversations that we should have. Laboratories should have certain capacities at various levels. We should properly segment healthcare into primary, secondary, and tertiary, so that we free our tertiary system, so that they are not overwhelmed by cares that can be given by the primary health sector.
Like what we're seeing now.
Sure. And you reckon that not too distant future, we had a symptom of no bed symptom.
Yes.
It can occur again because we only dealt with the symptoms, knee-jerk reaction, helter skelter. What will solve the problem essentially is proper compartmentalization of our healthcare system, primary, secondary, tertiary, so that that pregnant woman who needs just primary care will not go to Kolebu and occupy them for tertiary service. So these are conversations that as a country we should have. Now as a country, well, I'll tell you one more thing. We have essential drug list, but we don't have essential diagnostic list.
Why?
Now this was premised when knowledge was not abound. And we thought that all there is to treat symptoms. So you sit before the doctor, and when you have symptoms, what you need is drug. So essential drug list. Now, we have all come to terms with knowledge that in between symptoms and drugs is a certain evidence-based diagnosis, which is very direct, and that is diagnosis. And so we need essential diagnostic list, so that we know that when you go to the primary health care, this is the diagnosis available. When you go to secondary, this is the diagnosis available. So these are all conversations that we need to have as a country.
Holistically.
And we are not reinventing the wheels. There are best practices elsewhere. And these duty bearers, the taxpayers, takes them there. Let them come and implement some of what they see. That is how countries develop.
Doc, thank you very much for coming. We do hope that your concerns will be addressed swiftly so you can return to the various facilities and offer your essential services that you offer this country.
So, in finality, what I would say is that let duty bearers learn to train to treat essential caregivers as essential caregivers.
Right.
Thank you.
That's Dr. Franklin Amati Ama. He's National First Vice Chair of the Medical Laboratory Professionals Workers Union, and that's it for Health Alert.